In this video, I'm going to go over the 5 things I wish I knew that would have helped me improve much quicker and also enjoy my time playing Valorant a lot more. With that being said, let's get right into it. The first thing I wish I knew is that movement is more important than aim. Now I know that sounds weird, but hear me out. In Valorant, there's something called dead zoning. This essentially allows you to get first shot accuracy while keeping your agent moving. If you aren't dead zoning properly, it doesn't matter how good your raw aim is, your bullet will not land. And on top of that, movement is crucial for keeping you alive. If you just stop dead every single time you take a fight, or even worse, you crouch spray, you will have a very hard time winning your duels and will most likely find yourself dying whenever you peek out or take a fight by someone who looks like they didn't even stop moving, simply because they are dead zoning properly and you are not. On top of this, you need to know how to dead zone so that you too can swing corners at maximum momentum and hit your shots while doing this. It is a tech that all good players use to win fights and rank up quickly. By spending time learning proper movement, you will begin to hit more shots and also be harder to hit yourself. This is easy to practice. All you need to do is turn on your movement graph and load up into the range. Spend some time moving side to side and shooting between your steps, and also practice taking 2 steps in each direction, then stopping or switching directions and shooting. That is how you reach maximum momentum and hit first shot accuracy. While doing this, make sure that the graph in the top right stays yellow and doesn't turn blue. When it's blue, it means your timing was off and you weren't accurate. You should also be doing this when you're playing unrated, deathmatch, or comp. So instead of just going through the motions, practice your peaks and dead zoning in game during high stress situations, and you will start to win a lot more duels and games. The next thing that I wish I knew was the 20-60-20 rule. Essentially, this means that 20% of your games will be a win regardless of what you do, as your team will just steamroll the enemies, while 20% of the games you play will be a loss regardless of what you do as well, due to throwers, griefers, or having absolute chimps for teammates. This leaves 60% of your games being completely up to you. Now that's all fine and dandy, except for in Valorant, I think it's a little bit deeper than that, as the community is absolute dog shit. There are so many losers and weirdos that queue into this game just to ruin everyone's day. Now, technically, when you get games with them, it will fall into the 20% of unwinnables. However, due to the way that they're acting and how you react to them, you may have a much harder time winning those 60% of games that are supposed to be up to you. What I mean by this is, if you let them get to you and destroy your mental, the chances of you losing more games is much higher than 20%. Essentially, what I'm saying is, these losses would be because of you. However, it may seem like it was just unwinnable. You may be griefing and tilting your team subconsciously and not even know it. And you may be carrying a terrible mental into your following games that could have been winnable. And that's why your mental is the most important part of this game. So what you need to do if you get into a game that absolutely destroys your mental is take a break. Do not queue into another game and bring this mental with you, as that will most likely guarantee that you lose it. And I think that this is where a lot of people go wrong, and it's why they end up being hard stuck. They blame their teammates for every single loss, when in reality some of their losses were their teammates and the others were due to their inability to recognize they probably shouldn't have queued right away. So whenever this happens, take a break and do something to calm your nerves and relax. Maybe go get a snack and get some water, or do something outside of the game. However, if you feel like you need to keep playing, then run some death matches and TDMs to reset. Also, side note, you should be meditating every day so that you have an ironclad mental and nothing can really get to you inside or outside of the game. Because if you have a weak mental, Valorant will break you. The next thing I wish I knew sooner was that only learning one role is a terrible way to improve and rank up. Now don't get me wrong, you should have a main agent and role that you play most of the time, but you should also be able to play up to 2 different roles and a couple other agents as well. Not only will this allow you to play comfortably if your agent gets picked or your role has been insta-locked, it will also help you learn the game a lot more and be able to understand what the enemies might be doing due to the fact that you're now able to think about what you would do if you were playing that role or agent. agent. This will have a massive impact on your ability to understand the game and also be able to carry games you otherwise wouldn't be able to due to the fact you couldn't get your agent. Also, keep in mind that a lot of people can only play one role or agent, and if you take their agent and they are forced to fill a role they don't understand, they will most likely perform poorly and not use their utility properly. This will lead you to lose the game and blame them. However, if you were able to play that role instead, you will give yourself a much better chance of winning. So this means that yes, it may have seemed like it was their fault, but there was something you could have done to probably win that game, which would have been to play a different role and help your team out. Remember, in most cases, there is always something you can do to improve your chances of winning. So if you're just always blaming your team for losing, the game will have you teetering between ranking up and ranking back down. As for ranking up, you need to shift your mindset, and this is something I think a lot of people struggle with, and so did I for the longest time. Keep in mind there's something called performance anxiety, and it can be crippling if you let it get a hold of you, and it comes from attaching too much emotion and self-identity to your rank. If you actually want to rank up and play better, you need to stop worrying about your rank and winning games, but instead you need to start playing each game with the mentality that you were there to improve and play your best, not just win the game. Because if you lose, who cares? You still got better and learned something that you can now carry into your next game. If you don't do this, you'll find yourself tensing up when you get into fights, getting tilted when you die, getting upset at your teammates even though it's out of your control, and losing confidence as the game goes on, leading you to spiral into a mentality of anger and frustration, making it impossible to improve and rank up. However, if you stop caring so much, all of this goes away and you'll find yourself hitting more shots, not getting tilted, hyping your teammates up, making them play better, and having more confidence in yourself, learning from your mistakes, inevitably winning more games. And on the topic of confidence, another thing I wish I figured out sooner is there's a difference between playing confidently and playing like an idiot. While it is important to have confidence in taking fights, you need to know when to do this and when to back off. If you're just constantly W-keying into every fight, winning some and then instantly dying, you aren't actually getting any value. Instead, you should be confident in your ability to take these fights, take them when necessary, but also slow down your play when needed and don't always push. Learn to change up your playstyle and start playing more unpredictably, pushing the enemy sometimes and sometimes holding back for them to push you. This is going to make you way harder to predict and allow you to get the upper hand on whoever you are playing against. As if you were playing predictably, they can easily counter you. And if you aren't able to adapt to the enemy's playstyle, you will find yourself doing very well some games and getting stomped in others. Remember that confidence in your ability to win fights is important, but don't be taking stupid fights just because you think you can. Keeping that in mind, if you do want to learn how to improve your confidence in Valorant, I would suggest you check out this video next.